It simply wasn't that long ago that Matt Rule had stood on his decision to hire Marcus Satterfield as the offensive coordinator, especially after last year when the turnover margin was abysmal. Jeff Sims was throwing the ball, putting the ball on the floor. Henrik Harburg had you running an option that you didn't really want to do because you were no threat to throw the ball downfield. And yet he said, look, people want me to hire the offense coordinator. I'm not doing that. It's just not what I'm going to be. That's not who I'm going to be about. And now we're at the point where Dana Holgorsen has entered the picture. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If you like the #1 college football show channel, please subscribe to it. It does not affect your algorithm. It put this thing in front of you because it thought you might like it. And if you're here, I hope you do. You can signal that you do just by hitting that subscribe button. Helps the channel get more discovery, and we are charging toward 117,000 subscribers. And it'd be great for you to join us. I lost a fight with a garage door on Monday. It's pouring down torrentially, severe weather, thunderstorms. I tried to duck under the garage door too quickly, and I got hit. Personal foul, targeted my head, and as you can see, I am wearing a new tattoo, as it were. So Dana Holgorsen enters the picture as an offensive consultant at Nebraska, and Matt Rule was very clear about why he thought they needed the help. They're averaging 18.3 points per game. That's a really good scoring defense. That's an outstanding scoring defense. That's not a great scoring offense. That's pretty awful. That's pretty bad. And after you basically let go of Ohio State when you had the tiger by the tail at the shoe, my goodness, man. They looked like they were this close to pulling off an upset because the defense was playing its behind off. You get embarrassed by UCLA, a team that you expected to win, and now you're staring down the barrel once again at trying to get to bowl eligibility. I've said before, bowl eligibility is the final boss for Nebraska football the last couple of years. The Matt Rule era has been defined by it. It has not been fun to be a Nebraska fan since 2017, and they are getting tired of it. And you know what? I think Matt Rule is getting tired of it, especially coming into the season where there was so much momentum around what they had returned, Dylan Raiola being the guy, and then they get this really good signature win against Colorado, who is ranked in the top 25, who I expect to be ranked in the college football playoff selection committee's top 25, and they did it going away. You got to see what that Nebraska offense was capable of. But even then, they didn't score 30. They didn't score 35. They didn't score 40. They did that against UTEP. And that's the thing, right? Marcus Satterfield has been the one man that most Nebraska fans believe is out of his depth. They don't like it. They don't like the quarterback play that he is inspiring. You want to see bringing in a quarterback's coach for him. You've now brought in Dana Holgorsen. You're doing everything you can to surround Marcus Satterfield with guys that you think can help him develop an offense that can go score in the Big Ten and lead you to winning more football games than you lose. I also can't help but think that Dana Holgorsen is in a spot where it feels like he's being set up to perhaps be the OC in 2025. But this is also a man who last year had said, my buyout is impossible, because he didn't think that Houston would move off of him after winning 20 games in 2 years, and they had a crappy season in the Big 12, and they found the $14.8 million that it was going to cost to buy him out, and they're going to pay him for this year, next year, through 2027, 2028. I think it's something like $4 million is that he's going to make on top of this. I don't know if you're Nebraska, you want to pick up the tab for a lot of this, but maybe David Tepper's still picking up much of the money for Matt Rule at Nebraska. So there's a lot of arithmetic that I'm sure is going to get messed around with, and one of the reasons you hire him as an offensive consultant as opposed to an analyst, and what these names and monikers mean is really how we hide the money, or how we say this title is more important than another. I've always been kind of flummoxed by co-offensive coordinators and co-defensive coordinators, because all we really want to know is who's calling the plays. And I know at Michigan they had this thing where they didn't want to tell us who was calling the plays. Somebody be calling the run plays, somebody be calling the pass plays. I'm going, that can't work, dude. I mean, you want to know who the guy is, right? I always try to remind people that football was created by Walter Camp to simulate trench warfare. Like, it goes from rugby to what it is because he wanted guys to be ready for war. That's why we call it in the trenches. That's why it's an offensive line, defensive line that are in a mush trying to push each other backward. Trench warfare, okay? understanding that, you also got to know that being tough is one part of it. Having a hierarchy is another. There's a reason why we look to the quarterback and we call him a field general, right? You're getting all of your war and military rhetoric into this. So it means that you got to know who the general is, you got to know who the captain is, you got to know who the lieutenant is, and that chain of command needs to be respected. So when you put co next to stuff, you're just confusing people, and you're perhaps belittling someone who's actually doing the lion's share of the work. And as a type A type personality, the last thing I want to do is a damn group project, because I know I'm going to do all the group projects. Somebody else is going to be laying in the cut. Like, Tyrese Halliburton on the Olympic team, because he didn't have to do nothing, and he still got a gold medal. It took me a little bit because I didn't know if I wanted to put him out there on Front Street like that, because he took it on the chin, like he was cool about it. Like when you look at who's on that team and who played, Bron, Steph, you keep going down the list. Ain't nothing for you to do over there, dog, except collect your gold medal. I hate being on that team, because I either want to be the guy with the ball in my hands, or don't call me, right? Like I'm here to score. I am a ball dominant point guard. That is why we do a show like this one, and I can carry it by myself. Aren't a whole lot of people that can do this, but ain't too many James Hardens walking around, and James Harden's not always the best option for your team. Now, I can adjust my play based on who it is around me, and if you got a LeBron, cool, I'm gonna do that. But even LeBron was like, nah, this is Steph Curry's game to go win against France, and it was amazing. My digression is to point out that Marcus Satterfield is being surrounded by other guys that we're being made to understand are lieutenants, and he is still, the man in charge of the artillery. But it doesn't feel like that's going to keep up for very long, because as Matt Rule said, 18.3 points per game ain't going to cut it. They can't run the ball as well as they were in the first half of the season. Dylan Raiola is reluctant to throw the ball down the field because he ain't got nobody down the field. But I am going to point out that Dana Holgorsen has been really good about dialing up pass plays that work. Think about what Geno Smith was doing at West Virginia. That's Dana Holgorsen. Think about what Brandon Whedon was doing with Justin Blackmon. That's Dana Holgorsen. He'll get you into these formations that promote one-on-ones for wide receivers and your best pass catcher, and let your quarterback throw it down the field. It's just, can that guy win the one-on-ones? That's about recruiting as well. I also love pointing out that Dana Holgorsen is from Davenport, Iowa, and this is a guy who grew up under Mike Leach's tree and believes in air raid principles, but not by hook or by crook. He believes in scoring. He believes in moving the football down the field and outscoring the other team. You saw that with Will Grier at West Virginia when they went down to Texas, and he said, hey, y'all want to go win the damn game? Let's go win the damn game. And I'll never forget, because West Virginia got a personal foul for the horns down. That is what you're trying to infuse into Nebraska late. Now, you got USC in a couple of weeks, and they're going to have a new quarterback in Jade Mayava. He's probably going to throw you some wrinkles that you weren't prepared for, because you ain't seen film on him since UNLV last year. And I'm sure that there's going to be some of that makes Jaden very comfortable, but it's going to be a lot of Lincoln Riley. So Tony White versus Lincoln Riley is going to be fun. But if Dana Holgorsen can come up with even one or two things that get Marcus Satterfield out of his basic book that everybody seems to understand and can prepare for, it's looking real bad. Like, I think USC is trying to stave off being new Nebraska, which is to say you are a perennial power coming from a conference that you left into a new region you have no history with, and you have not committed to the culture of winning because you're 4-5 if you're SC. Nebraska hadn't really been about anything in the Big Ten, and they've been bad in the Big Ten for the last, 7 years, going back 2017. And we're talking about a team that if they see a number next to your name since 2016, you're going to beat them. Like they seem to not like a 25 or lower next to a team that they're playing. In that way, it's kind of like James Franklin and Penn State. You got a 5 or higher, 5 or lower, 5-1. You're probably going to beat them, But even that, you should be able to do something that knocks Danton Lynn off his feet with Dana Holgorsen coming in. I hope that is what happens for Nebraska, because I believe college football is just a better sport when Nebraska's good and when Arkansas is good. Arkansas is Arkansas. I need Nebraska to be Nebraska. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a time when I really would have liked to see this version of Nebraska as a kid, and I don't want it anymore. Like, I'm past feeling like Nebraska needs to get its comeuppance. They need a win. And they need a big win. And to get to bowl eligibility against this SC team and SC's first year in the Big Ten, as you were the last, new entries to the Big Ten before them, it would signal that there are levels to this, that there is a hierarchy of this. And I would like nothing more than for Nebraska to be able to do that against a Lincoln Riley team that seems to be floundering and needs to figure itself out or risk not being bowl eligible. Like, you don't beat Nebraska, you're probably going to lose to Notre Dame. And I don't know that you're going to beat UCLA if you are SC. And maybe Nebraska gets to point them further in that direction of see how this feels.